self-serving, persuasive talkers
of everything and nothing.
We are conversation con artists. What's going on? It's your boy, Mr. On Point.
And I am Calamity Red.
And we are conversation con artists. I want to start off by doing a couple of things. I want to let y'all know, if y'all have listened to this podcast enough to get an impression of the show, whether good or bad.
Preferably good.
If y'all don't mind leaving us some reviews on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, anywhere that you listen to us from. If you don't mind giving us some feedback, that'll be great. Got some good feedback from a gentleman in Swindon, UK, which
is amazing because I had no idea people outside of the US listen to us.
Named Michael, and I really appreciated that feedback. As well as I've been listening to some podcasts before podcasts, and I didn't really listen to many, but I've been getting into listening to different podcasts, and I'm gonna start shouting out podcasts that reach 5 listens for me, because for me that is a lot. If I've listened to your podcast 5 times, then I'm gonna throw that out there just in case other people are looking for something to listen to. So one of them is the Government Name Podcast with Shogun and Cole Jackson. It's just a nice mix. News, games, tech, TV, movies. They talk about everything pretty much. I like their show. Then we got the Place Your Name Here podcast. Host Peanut, who reached out to us earlier when we started podcasting, and we just been communicating. And I like his show. All of them are just different takes on news, and you get to learn people's personality and stuff. Dre is also a part of the Place Your Name Here podcast, which he has a podcast, another atheist podcast. And the last one is Black Balance podcast. It's 4 girls, I think, out of Atlanta that I don't remember their names, but
I gotta get my podcast game up.
It's a website called Podcasts of Color, I think.
Oh.
And it's just a lot of black podcasts. So I just been going down looking for podcasts to listen to, and if it piques my interest, then I'll check it out.
Cool.
But anyway, back to normal business. I want to talk about the website. Go check it out, conversationconartist.com. Listen to our current episodes, see the links for our stories, old episodes, as well as you can leave us some feedback if you like. My Twitter is Mr. MISTER_on-point.
And I can be found at red_calamity. We also, because we're recording on Sunday, I wanted to wish all the fathers a happy Father's Day, because Papa was Rolling Stone.
And when he died, all he left us was alone.
I also want to apologize because I probably sound like I swallowed a frog. And it's because I don't really know why. I don't know. I woke up sneezing and shit just went downhill since. So if I mix my B's and M's and you don't know what I'm saying up, just, that's what it is. But
I never understood that expression.
What?
Swallowed a frog.
I guess because it sounds like you have something in your throat. I don't know why a frog in particular.
And why would you have swallowed it?
I don't know. You analyze things way too much.
I can't help it. This is how I
am. We are still doing the listener letter portion of the show. If you have a question, comment, if you have anything that you would like for us to address on the show, you can send it in either through the website or through our Gmail account, which is conversationconartist@gmail.com. I also want to remind everybody that we are still pressuring AC Blow to come back and do his horrible date stories, because I'm telling y'all, this shit is hilarious. If you have some horrible date stories that you would like to share, again, obviously anonymously, please send those in too, because we would like to share those when we do that episode, which will be coming up, because we pressured him and he's agreed to do it. So that is going to happen. So if you have some horrible date stories that you would like to share, just send those in the same way. We have one letter here today from Buki in Chicago, apparently. And she says, Memorial weekend, my boyfriend and I went to my girlfriend's cookout. She has it every year, and since But since he's newly minted, this was his first time. This is also our first time at a group thing. We've been pretty wrapped up in each other for the past few months, but I was excited to take him and show him off, basically. Then we get there after having to practically drag him as if I hadn't told him about it repeatedly over the last couple of weeks, and he embarrasses me. He went from not even wanting to go to flirting with every bitch there. One chick especially, who I don't fuck with, was all over him, and he seemed to encourage it. We had it out in the car on the way home, and he said I should have just pulled him away if I had such a problem, but he won't even cop to the disrespect. My best friend thinks that his behavior is a major red flag, so what should I do? Should I just cut my losses? Red flag indeed. Like, what the first time that you introduce somebody to your friends, if they cannot control themselves and decide that it's a good idea to go around flirting with people, like obviously flirting with people to where other people are noticing it as well, that's just, that's some fuck shit. Like, that's not okay.
This can't be the first. I guess it can be the first time she got these signs.
Well, if they've been, when you first start dating and y'all are
representative, you get the representative.
Yeah, you get the representative, and y'all are so like, ooh, you spend all that time together. So it sounds like this is the first time that she's actually seen him like out.
In the beginning,
with people.
In the beginning, you are who you want that other person to see until you're comfortable enough with them to show you who you really are.
Yeah, which is why I tell people, like, when people get together and date for like 3 months and then get married, you don't even know who the fuck you're marrying because you're still seeing that representative. Then when you get married, be talking about they changed. No, they just progressively became who they are, which would have happened had you given it some more time instead of running out here 3 months later to get married. Yeah. Nobody is themselves in the beginning. You get all the good qualities, but all that bad shit is covered up. You gotta wait a while for that to come out. You gotta give that shit an opportunity to. So this is, he ain't even show you his representative though. He showed you the representative when y'all was alone.
See, I think you need to do is you need to put that person in a whole bunch of different environments.
Yeah.
Because they can't pretend around everybody. Like, you need to be around some of their cousins. You need to go around their family. You need to invite them to your family. You need to put them in all these different environments before you determine it. Because if they got to keep up a show, at least make them work. If they going to have to keep up a show, make them do it everywhere.
Yeah.
And when dudes show, with anybody in a relationship, show y'all signs, look at them. Like if a dude wears a hat 24/7 all the time, you might want to try to find out what his edge up look like, because it might be non-existent.
Or he may have like the most horribly receding of hairlines ever known to man. Like,
if any man or woman that you're dating is aggressively avoided of any particular thing, no, I don't want you to meet my family. No, I don't want you to go here. No, we don't need to do this. If they are aggressively against any particular thing, might be a red flag.
Yeah.
If they never want you to come to their place, might be a red flag. If they only call you at 8 o'clock at night, we know what that is. And after, we know what that is.
Yeah.
You are not considered.
Nope. And the thing is, like, when people say, I had no idea, it just came out of nowhere, very rarely is that the truth. There are usually like signs leading up until like the big reveal. And so like this being one of them. If again, this is the first time, instead of him trying to make a good impression on your friends, he's in here trying to, in case shit don't work out with you, line up your replacement. That's a problem. And actually, I would have checked him at there. Like, if we wouldn't have got back to the car, I would have been like, the fuck is you doing? What's going on? I didn't even know this bitch. Are you, like, seriously? So I would have waited till we got in the car. And the fact that anytime that you tell somebody that you're with about some behavior that bothers you and they don't acknowledge your feelings about it, they don't, want to address it, that's a problem. Because later on when we have like huge issues, I can already see you're not going to be willing to work through them. Anybody that's not willing to acknowledge how you feel about things, that's a problem. So the fact that you came to him and wanted to talk to him about it, and he was just kind of dismissive, like, oh, whatever, you overreacted, or whatever, you should have said something. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a problem too. That's a communication issue. That's going to lead to a huger communication issues.
And the situation sound like mostly passive aggression.
Yeah.
It's like you had to drag him there, and when you get there, this is what happened.
Yeah.
He wanted to show you for the future, you don't drag me to stuff. Because, remember what happened last time. And she'll remember. But for me, 2 months is not long enough to deal with anything you don't want to.
Hell no.
In 2 months, if you see something slightly odd, you can leave. You can leave that situation alone.
And probably should. Because, again, you usually are meeting that person's representative. And if the representative ain't somebody you can fuck with, you know the real person ain't going to be somebody you can fuck with. So, yeah, I would take that as a red flag, and I would just kind of cut my losses and move on to the next one. I just move on. Move past it.
I know some women, they would have left his ass.
Oh, yeah, we came together and I drove, bitch. Get one of these bitches to take you home since y'all so friendly. How about that?
He would have looked up like, where'd she go? Her ass went home, bro.
Left you here where you wanted to be, obviously.
So
yeah, hopefully that answered that. Again, if you have any questions that you would like for us to answer, you can send them in through the website, or you can send them to our Gmail account, which is conversationconartist@gmail.com. So that's that.
Yep.
So where do you want to begin?
So last week we recorded before the Orlando shooting happened.
Yeah.
So we didn't get a chance to give our initial reactions about the situation.
And my initial reaction is still my reaction to it right now at this moment.
Mine too.
Which is, it was a whole lot of fuck shit, and people's responses to it, some of them make me question just humanity in general. I don't know how you can look at a tragedy such as that and pick out things like, well, that's what happened. They were gay, so they deserved it. Like, where the fuck is your humanity at? A lifestyle choice, a thing that a small characteristic of who somebody is no reason for them to die. Those people were minding their business, having a good time, not hurting anyone. There was no reason that should have happened to them. And for anybody to feel otherwise is full of shit. And all of these Christians, and I'm doing air quotes, that think that, that is just this horrific sin, who sin every day, but your sin isn't that sin, so you don't feel like it's as bad or it's okay, or that's such bullshit. And again, that's part of the reason why people frown so heavily, or non-religious people kind of look at Christians like, y'all are a horrible group of people. Mm-hmm. It was just really tragic and sad. And did you see the text messages that mom was exchanging with her son while it was happening? Yeah. And he told her, like, I'm gonna die. Like that. How do you look at that and still be able to say some fuck shit? I just don't understand how you could do that. As a human being, when your fellow human being goes through something that's that tragic, you should be able to see the sadness in that instead of picking out this stupid shit. Like, I just, like the lieutenant governor of Texas, fuck that guy, who tweeted out that Bible scripture and then took it down when people got in his ass. He didn't apologize for it, basically saying that they suffered the wrath of God for being what they were. Like, he didn't even apologize. He just took it down because people got mad about it.
And it's crazy because there's videos of Muslims saying that gay people should die.
Yeah.
And while Christians don't say gay people should die, if gay people die, they use it as a reason that God is angry with that particular group. So does that really make you any better?
Exactly.
Does it make you any better in that situation that you can still look at those deaths as a wrath of God and through the lens of your faith?
My question to those people, so they were gay at a gay club, therefore they deserve to die because they were shot while in the commission of being gay. So then how do you justify the Charlotte? Was it Charlotte where they got shot in the church? Mm-hmm. How do you justify that then?
Was it Charlotte? It was North Carolina.
North Carolina. I think it was. I don't know if it was Charlotte, but how do you justify that? What sins made them deserving of being shot while they were in church? welcoming this man in. So like, what if that's the thing? If where you die is indicative of God's unhappiness with you at that time, then what does that say about those church people that were in church?
Man,
when
all
they
this
died?
stuff is so intertwined. I mean, it's what we find in our society is it's very easy to craft a dialogue when a person is not white. The shooter was white,
yeah,
and the media fights against painting a wide portrayal of a group of people when it's white. You know, because when you're white, you're an individual. When you're white, that's what America has afforded white people. You can always be looked at in the context of your individuality, as to where all Muslims are bad, all people from Islam are bad, all black people this, like in the media, we are all looked at in the same way if we brown. Yeah. But if you white, you're an individual. So the dialogue was crafted around him, his past, his behavior. But for this situation, the Orlando shooting, it's all Muslims. It's all illegal immigrants. It's all faith is bad. You know what I'm saying?
And I was so happy to see, they had a lot of the parades and a lot of the vigils. There were Muslims represented that were holding up signs, because it's never the complete group. That's why it's so dangerous to just lump an entire group of people into a category and say all Muslims are this, all black people are this. It's never an entire group. Normally, I mean, I guess the Nazis are a little different. But
I got in a dialogue with somebody about him talking about radical Islam, because everybody was mad that President Obama wouldn't call it radical Islam. Mm-hmm. That was a whole dialogue. They were just mad. They said you need to call this radical Islam. And Obama gave a great response to that situation, but the dialogue was him saying that, radical Islam is a problem. And I said, well, if Westboro Baptist Church, if somebody out of Westboro Baptist Church shoot up a whole bunch of people, I just hope your dialogue is the same.
Radical Christianity is a problem.
I hope the dialogue is the same for that. But what Christians do is they say that person is not a Christian because they're not doing Christian things. It's easy for them to take a person that they don't believe is Christian because it represents Christianity negatively out of Christianity, rather than say we got some extreme Christians too. But they will say they're extreme Muslims, and they will identify the entire religion as extreme, including everybody that represents it. And that's a part of the danger with Donald Trump talking about building a wall. The danger with that is we don't know who, because this man, the shooter, was an American citizen. Mm-hmm. So we don't know who are American citizens in that dialogue. We don't know if Muslims that we see that have on a hijab or traditional wear from their culture, we don't know if they're illegal immigrants, if they're American citizens, and we only have our eyes to use. That's what's dangerous about their dialogue.
And at the end of the day, with the details that have come out, I don't even know. So he obviously had some shit going on in his life because he had been to that club before. He had experimented. Like, I feel like this was more about him, like some self-hate because of how he was as compared to how he had been brought up to believe he should be, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I don't even know that the dialogue should even be, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like this was more of a situation where it was more about him. Mm-hmm. And where he was, as opposed to like Islam and him being Muslim. And because when I saw that, I was like, oh well, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. That, I mean, because that's this is why I whether you agree with homosexuality or not, let people live their lives. And because it's a very dangerous thing when you try to stifle that, because you don't know how people are going to react. Some people are able to just say, okay, they don't agree with this, my family don't agree with this, but this is how it is, this is who I am, this is what I want, and they can deal with that. Other people's psyches are not where they can do that, where they can separate it and say, this is how they feel, but this is how I am, and that's okay. And that shit happen. Like, I would much rather you just let people live their lives, especially when it ain't hurting you to do that, than to put them in a place where they snap. And this is what you get. It ain't got shit to do with you. If your cousin, mama, sister, bro, whoever is gay, that's an aspect of their life that don't have shit to do with you. Nothing to do with you. Just like it ain't got nothing to do with them when you out here dating these fuckboys, or you out here dating these gold diggers, or any of the other shit that happens with heterosexuals, in which people don't agree with who they love or who they're with or who, you know. Mm-hmm. I just don't let people be who they are.
So the problem or the crazy thing about this situation is that it hit 3 of the major topics that we have in our society right now. We got terrorism.
Yep.
We got guns, and we got LGBT community.
Oh God, the gun issue. I had an entire debate with AC about the sale of AR-15 of assault rifles in general, because I told her, I said, you know what, you talk about all of these like crazed gun people, you undercover one now. Like, you're undercover one of these people, because what I was saying was, if you're saying you need these guns for protection, an assault rifle is not necessary. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can have a handgun for protection. Like, the free sale of these assault rifles, that's ridiculous. And his whole thing, well, assault rifle, something about the trigger mechanism on an assault rifle is easier. So for somebody who has trouble pulling the trigger on a regular gun, an assault rifle would be, if you can't get your shit together enough to be able to shoot this gun, you don't need to fucking have it then. That is not, to me, a justification for selling AR-15, because the trigger mechanism, that, you know what? I'm sure he found it very easy to pull that trigger too when he shot all them fucking people. What kind of an argument is that? Like,
and modifying triggers on guns to a point to make it easier is illegal. You can't make them like that easy to shoot. He's
saying that it's just naturally easier on an assault rifle.
What I'm saying
is
it's difficult on purpose.
Yeah,
is harder to pull on purpose. That is a part of a safety issue in terms of guns, of the very, very few safety issues that exist.
Yeah.
My problem with the situation with guns is there is not enough time. If I wake up in the morning mad as hell, I can go to a pawn shop.
Yep.
Have a gun in my hands by noon.
Yep.
And have somebody damn brains on the wall by 8 o'clock if I want to.
You are right.
I can do that. There is not enough deterrent for that. That is too many crimes of passion. It's too many situations in which people get into situations and say, somebody, they need time to calm down sometimes. Some of these people need to be deterred sometimes. Let's say, I don't know how this dude got his gun, but we do know of mass shootings and shooters where they had guns legally.
Yeah.
Let's say if they tried to go and get guns, if it took them 2 or 3 extra days to get them, instead of being able to get them so quick, so fast. Like, to say that the Republican Party just give out so many reasons, and gun enthusiasts and the NRA give out so many reasons to not do anything about guns.
And
it's
here's
just
the
stupid
thing.
To me. Don't make sense.
Any other tragedies that have happened, when 9/11 happened, flying is a pain in the ass now, because they changed all of these things that made it a lot more inconvenient, but it was for the greater good. It was to ensure the safety of people. Guns are the only situation in which we are not willing to give at all. Like, I was saying, not even all guns. I'm saying that the sale of like the AR-15s, all the assault rifles, that whole legislation needs to change as far as the assault. He was like, oh no, because it'll start with that and then it'll end up being all good. Like, they are not willing to give anything as far as the whole gun issue is concerned. It doesn't matter if it's for the fucking greater good. Gun enthusiasts, people who like guns, they're not willing to give at all. And I saw something where somebody was like, it's not a gun issue, we have a hate issue. Do you think that we would be able to fucking look how long we done had hate running in this fucking country? Like, it's a hate issue? Oh, let's just make everybody love each other, bitch. Are you what? Girl, what? No. Hate that. We must be able to solve the gun problem before we would be able to change the minds of all the people that we would need to change the minds of. Like, the hate issue is not, how do you address that? What does that even mean?
I just feel like the NRA has made pawns out of American citizens and politicians, because I'm the NRA. I'm the NRA. I'm a lobbying group that banks millions and millions of dollars from people who make guns, who make bullets, who make accessories, who make everything that goes along with guns. And I want to maintain as much money as I can. So what's my best route to make sure that happens? Because I still want Smith & Wesson and all these different companies to pay me to do that. So I'm going to give some of that money to politicians to make sure they hold off on legislation, to stop legislation, to stop anything. There's been a 20-year ban on researching guns through the CDC. The Center of Disease Control that researches everything that is an epidemic in our society to come up with more effective ways of handling those things. They were banned for 20 years from 1996 until now of researching. And now they can research, but it's underfunded. Nobody's going to fund it. And not only that, but in school, they tell people going to research gun violence is a career death, career suicide. And so it's not even encouraged. So basically everything that anybody believe about guns and the existence of them is that it's based off opinion only. Mm-hmm. Because the thing is, if y'all genuinely and truly believe that what you were saying was true, what harm would research do? What harm would finding out that, okay, well, we did research and, criminals, they're still going to be able to access guns anyway. So there's no point of doing any legislation against guns. Well, research would show that if it were true. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, we research everything. And I just don't understand how people don't see the veil over their eyes by the NRA, by politicians, about why they have crafted a dialogue in which guns are that important. Yeah. They are not that important. Because of our Second Amendment, we should have them. We should be able to continue to have them because it is what it is. But to say everybody should have one with no restrictions, no regard, no registration. We don't have to register. We don't have to have license. We don't have to have training. We don't have to have anything. All we have to have is a background check and we can get a gun. Yep. So I don't.
And I told him this when we were talking about it. With the way that the thinking is, we will never, ever have gun control in this country, ever. Because they're not willing to get... Again, this isn't about the individual. This is about the greater good. This is about the state that the country is in now. And again, every other situation in which we found there to be this huge problem, this epidemic, they were willing to... Again, flying is shit now. You can only have like those little bitty bottles and all of this stuff to keep a situation from like 9/11 from like the odds of it from happening, to lower them. Right? Everybody had to give up some rights. Everybody had to give up some conveniences because it was for the greater good. The gun shit though, they're not gonna give anything because everything is gonna be an infringement on my right. I'm supposed to be able to do this. Me.
The thing is,
and I'm not gonna hurt anybody with my guns. So I should be able to have my guns. And the only way for me to be able to have my guns is for everybody to be able to have it. So we're not gonna change shit. Ever.
The thing is, I have to believe that the bulk of this dialogue about guns are from people who don't believe that if they had to go through a more difficult system, they would be able to keep their guns. Yeah. I have a feeling that a lot of people, because if you done right, if you haven't done anything problematic with guns or in your life that would put you under scrutiny for having guns, why would you care?
Yeah,
I'm that's like, true. Look, I mean, they can make the rules as strict as they want to. I know ain't nothing in my history gonna keep me from getting any gun that they have accessible because I know what I'm doing. Yeah, I've done what I'm supposed to do in life. So I just don't understand. Why would you just adamantly say no rules, no regulations, no anything,
no changes whatsoever? They are not gonna allow.
If you're doing right,
never gonna.
And I'm not talking about we don't have to lose any rights. I don't think we have to lose any rights. I just think that there needs to be more checks and balances for knowing who has guns, who got guns. Why can't they be something like, hey, show your updated yearly papers to buy these bullets? Because, hey, if a thug got a gun off the black market, of course he can get bullets off the black market.
The fucking renew my goddamn life.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, why don't we know who has guns? And why don't we know how many guns they have? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, there could be a way to stop this. Or at least, if criminals are going to have guns, if that's y'all's major concerns about why the guns always should be free, but I'm afraid that this is the thing I'm afraid of that I've been thinking about in my head that I haven't really said out loud. I'm afraid that the whole gun debate is a lot of America being scared of who they perceive to be thugs. That's what scares me about these concealed weapons and laws and being able to just carry a weapon as you wish. Anywhere. Because we already know that if a black man walking down the street, a white woman gonna lock her car door. And if a white man walking down the street, she not gonna lock her car door. Well, who's to say that a black man walking down the street, a white person with a concealed weapon ain't gonna put their hand on their gun
and be fidgety?
Exactly. Yeah. Because the perception of black people in America is one that triggers fear. It's one that triggers a response that in most of these instances have negative outcomes. That's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that I'm gonna be minding my business one day and somebody who ain't gonna shoot me because I don't cause problems, but they will think about, if that black dude caused some issues, I got my gun.
I mean, you know, and the scary thing is, you don't even actually have to cause problems if there's a perception that you might, because that whole imminent danger thing, I mean, you may not even have to be doing anything.
And let me say this. If you are a responsible gun owner, if you are genuinely, truly at heart a responsible gun owner in terms of following all the rules, following all the regulations, I don't give a fuck if you got a rocket launcher. But I'm just inclined to believe that is so few of people that are advocating for guns, right? I think that, so if you are irresponsible gun owner, if you haven't done anything you're supposed to do, if you don't have all your papers up to date, if you don't get training, if you leave your gun around irresponsibly in a lock, without a lock safe around, if you do anything irresponsible with your gun, you need to fucking be in a system of checks and balances.
Yeah.
That put you through a whole bunch of shit to make sure you got your gun.
And just like with everything else, there is not a way to, like, without everybody going through the system of checks and balances, there's not a way to say, okay, well, that guy doesn't need to go through the system, but that guy does. With everything, all of us would have to be willing to go through it, whether or not you are the irresponsible one or the responsible one. And the only way to find out which you are is to make everybody go through it. But that's the thing, people are not willing to do that because it's my rights and y'all are infringing in Second Amendment.
So what I challenge the responsible gun owners to do is, instead of saying I don't want my gun rights looked upon in order to let those irresponsible people have their guns out here, I want y'all to just be more critical of people who are irresponsible about their guns. If that don't mean you change your perspectives on gun legislation, at least if you over a friend's house and you see their guns and they not handling them correctly, educate them about it. You know what I'm saying? If you at a gun range and you see somebody not doing right, or some new people who never shot before, talk to them. You know, if you can't do anything, I don't care if you change your perspective on the legislation or not, but put accountability on these people who fucking up. That's all. I mean, that's all I can say, because this is just one of those polarized situations where it's one side versus the other. You know, if you're responsible, I don't give a damn what you do. If you're not responsible, then somebody need to have your ass in check and be paying attention to what the hell you doing and know what kind of guns you got.
I've said this before. If I ever get an opportunity to live outside of the U.S., that's what the fuck I'm gonna do. Like, I would come back to visit, but I would absolutely leave this motherfucker. Like, any opportunity that I had to, like, live, like, every day for the rest of my life outside of here and just visit this shit, that's what I would do. I really would. Like, I'm over. I am over America. I'm over it. I passed it. I'm done.
This is my home. I ain't leaving. They gotta give me a reason.
I think I have plenty of reasons.
They gotta give me an individual specific reason.
I don't want to, but see, I don't want to wait for that day. I don't want to wait for the day where, because I feel like it's coming. Consider that I'm female and African American. At some point, shit is good. I'm gonna have that individual reason. If I get a chance to get out before I get that, like I said, I wouldn't just, like, obviously my family's here. I would come back to visit, but, like, if I could live and raise my kids somewhere else, I fucking would. Totally. Quick, fast, and in a hurry. So
the second of those situations, cover guns, LGBT.
Yes.
So the very first comment that I posted on anything about this was, I'm afraid that they're going to use. They're gonna overshadow. Like terrorism is gonna overshadow LGBT community.
Yeah.
And probably by design.
Yes.
You know, because we don't want to show sympathy for the LGBT community.
Which
we've been trying to avoid showing sympathy for the LGBT community in this transgender debate. You know, and all the stuff that's been going on with transgender. And that's exactly what happened. They jump out in front of it and craft the dialogue to be about terrorism and about terrorizing Americans rather than the specific group of Americans that were targeted. It's like they cut it off at that part of the hierarchy. Okay, a group of people in America were terrorized. Americans were terrorized, but we gonna stop there because we can go to micro. We can go down to of the Americans that were terrorized. It was an LGBT group, and these politicians could acknowledge that, but a lot of them don't, and some of them do just for a political platform, for their political platform. They do that just so that they can get some cookie points with the community. But the thing about it that politicians don't understand is you have to have been showing that for the entire duration of your career.
Exactly.
This ain't some shit you can just pick up after a shooting and expect people to respect your platform. It's the same way with Hillary Clinton right now. You can't just pick up new ideals and new thoughts today and expect people to respect your platform.
Yep.
What do you really believe? You know, that's the problem today with politicians. And it's just, all of them handling it wrong.
For you regular people, because I done had some people on my timeline that I had to work very hard, because I know it isn't going to do anything if I get in their comments and I don't want to start no Facebook beef and all of that shit. So please stop comparing struggles. I saw somebody post some shit that was like, you know, it's funny how nobody's talking about all the black people getting killed by the police, but as soon as this happened with the gay club, like, I said this before, I stay in a perpetual state of annoyance with a lot of shit. I don't have to be mad about one fucking thing. I got anger to go around for everything. I got plenty of anger. So I don't have to pick and choose. I can be upset about more than one thing. And like what you do when you do that is basically you say that this other situation's not as important. And I can promise you, for the people who have family members that died, that shit is the most important thing in the world right now to them. Like, you stop comparing and struggles. Like, of course, gay people are going to be probably more upset about this than the rest of the country, unfortunately. But when something hits closer to home, that's with anything. Of course you're going to be upset about that. Of course it's going to touch you more than it may touch somebody that doesn't really understand it or doesn't have a connection to it at all. I just get so tired of people doing that shit every time something happens. Well, what about this? These people died over here. I don't see nobody talking about that. Like, okay, and what? Like, that doesn't take away from the fact that this was a horrible tragedy where 50 fucking people lost their life for nothing. Like, I cannot stand it. And again, I know if I make a comment, it's just going to go nowhere because people with that kind of mentality, there's nothing I'm going to say that's going to be able to change that. And so it's just an effort and futility for me to even try. So I don't. But it just enrages me when I see posts like that because it's like, bitch, okay, what and what? And
furthermore, in that dialogue, you can't expect another group to adopt the seriousness of your struggle. The black struggle is 100% my problem. I can't expect a gay individual to adopt that in lieu of their own problems.
Yeah.
They struggle is they struggle. You find people, like I believe that I am, that can understand the depth of everybody's problems.
Yeah.
I can understand problems with women through misogyny. I can understand racism, not just through my own cultural lens, but through the lens of other cultures as well. I can understand, what's the other one?
Homosexual.
I can understand homosexual struggle. I can understand the different nuances of what they go through. I don't have to just look through the lens of mine and say my struggles is what matters. You know,
this is what everybody should be talking about, exactly. Not this.
Everybody's struggles matter to them. The best you can do is help them understand what your struggle is and how you're experiencing it. But when you invalidate their struggle, because the only thing you can think about is yours, you lose support and you make yourself look like a dickhead.
Basically, you're an asshat. You're an asshat. And we discussed this last week.
Exactly.
You don't want to be an asshat.
You don't want to be that. And that's what you are when you expect another culture to adopt that idea. And I think comparing those struggles is the root of that.
Yeah.
Comparing those struggles is you saying, you know what, this is what was going on last time, you know, or this is what was going on last week, bro. You ain't talking about them no more. You ain't talking about us no more, you know. And the last of those three situations is the terrorism part.
Yeah.
You know, and America been paranoid since terrorism, since, you know, the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But what we're hearing now is he was on the FBI watch list. The FBI is taking him in and questioning him. Like, he's been on the radar. And I know it would be expensive and damn near impossible to monitor everybody that they got on them list, because it's probably damn near 1 million people.
I would think
it'll be impossible to do like around the clock paying attention and watching of all those people. But what does that say about our system? If they have somebody in their reaches of them 1 million people and one can still slip through like this. And you know what? ISIS took credit for this. But it don't make sense to me.
I don't. I think they just did that.
I do
just
too, for real.
I really don't think they had shit to do with it.
It don't make sense. ISIS is sending people into a gay nightclub to kill 50 people. Wouldn't it make more sense for ISIS to do something like at a whole parade or a convention? They sent somebody to post.
You know how many motherfucking pride parades? You know what I'm saying? That go on around the country. You have San Francisco, Atlanta has Black Gay Pride, Florida, like they're all over the place. You could have sent more, and one person. ISIS has tons of people. You could have sent multiple people in, and the body count could have been much huger. Like, yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all.
And you really think that this is an American citizen? This is a dude that grew up with American understandings and ideals, and ISIS hadn't been around long enough to just recruit people from that early of an age and not actively recruit. Otherwise, it'll be a shit ton more people doing all this shit all around the country instead of this one isolated incident of this dude. What I'm likely to believe is this dude is an American citizen that does have ties in his Muslim country and has come to understand probably what America has done to a lot of his world, his culture, in the big context, and he lives in a country in which his religion and faith is constantly scrutinized. And here comes this group saying that, hey, we are the true religion, we are the true people, we are right, these people don't need to exist, this what need to happen. And you know what? America has pushed a whole group of people to a side in which they can choose to be extremists. And I think that this dude with his own issues, probably problems with his own sexuality, his own understandings of his situation.
He had a wife. Did he have kids?
He had a wife. He got a son. A wife, mind you, who said, I told him not to do this. Bitch, that don't help you none. Talking about I told him not to do it.
Oh, well, if she told him not to do it, then I mean, we can't, like, what, bitch? You should have kept that.
If she ain't getting her ass waterboarded right now.
You should have kept that shit, bitch. You should have denied all knowledge whatsoever. Like, I had no idea he was going to do this. I had no clue. So you just admitting that you knew that this was coming. And the most that you did was say, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it, Miss Seeley.
But not only that, she thought it would look better to tell people she was against it. Even though it vicariously acknowledges that you knew that he was finna do this shit.
And you ain't tell nobody that could have. Like, okay, you can't stop it. Maybe you can't stop him. Did you go to the police and say, hey, my husband planning this shit. A lot of people gonna die. Y'all might want to come get him. Like, you didn't, other than saying, don't do it. Don't do it, Johnny. Like, that's, bitch, yeah, that was stupid. And she is probably getting waterboarded right now.
My future wife, I'm gonna tell you right now, we gonna have a Mexican standoff like a motherfucker. If I think you finna go out the door and kill some folks, I'm gonna have a gun at you gonna have a gun at me. Somebody finna die. Assuming that I changed my perspective about guns and acquired them at that point in my life. Otherwise, she just gonna leave the house with guns and I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do. It won't be a Mexican standoff. I had to stop in some kind of other way. But I don't believe, I don't know. I'm more apathetic than a lot of people. I don't have a lot of empathy, I feel, when it comes to life. So I don't feel that I have the level of love that will allow somebody to get away with some shit that is illogical and irrational. Logic and rationality means a lot to me. And if I feel like you're doing some shit that's not rational or logical, I will assume that your body has been taken over and consumed by some force, nature, being, entity that I don't understand, and you are no longer the person that I cared for before.
Oh, you know, Independence Day resurgence is coming out.
I'd be real good on the zombie apocalypse.
I hope the zombie apocalypse never happens.
Mama, brother, grandmama, if your ass is zombified, I'm shooting your ass. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you gone.
That ain't them no more.
It's not you
fucking
anymore.
Zombie.
The last bit of you is in my memories. All this aggressive trying to bite me shit ain't finna happen. Look, if the zombie apocalypse happen and y'all need somebody in your group that's going off who needs to be offed, I'm the one. Come find me. Put me in that situation.
Yeah, I ain't trying to die. My self-preservation gonna kick in, and I'm just, whatever.
Now,
whatever
I will, under the context of this specific situation, be forced into taking guns into my personal use. So, there it is.
That's life or death, though. You know what I'm saying? That's a whole different situation.
Have you ever read the Zombie Apocalypse Survival Guide?
No.
It's the book that Zombieland was based off of. Like the rules that's in that book.
Yeah, I like
the
Zombieland.
rules that's in that movie or in that book. It basically tell you how to survive.
Yeah,
it's a intense breakdown. They tell you the best environments, where to go, where not to go, how to survive on a boat, how to survive on land, what weapons are best, what weapons are worst.
I'm kind of concerned that people are putting this much thought into a fiction based. Because I hope that shit isn't actually ever going to happen, at least not in my lifetime. Let my children deal with that shit. I want to be long gone if that shit ever happens. Like, I don't need that in my lifetime.
The human body would have to evolve to a very intense level to be able to still survive with something that's killing them, but still be alive enough to cause harm to other people. Yeah, like, our bodies are way too fragile for anything that exists now to keep us alive and dead at the same time.
I mean, the only instances where I've seen people doing that when they were on spice. Oh, no, bath salts. What did bath salts when that man ate that dude's face? Mm-hmm. He was on them bath salts. I don't know. I just, again, hope that's never.
But I'm pretty sure he all right now.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he just got a story to tell people about him eating somebody's face one time.
He probably don't even remember that shit. I would imagine that was like a psychotic episode that he just wouldn't even remember. Like, he knows what he was told he did and probably saw like the evidence photos of the man's face eaten off. But how you eat somebody's face?
How do you live after you do that? Like, you gonna be playing man with your homeboy and he gonna be like, well, you won, but I ain't ate nobody's face before. You face eating ass motherfucker. What you have for dinner? Face?
Yeah.
You got some face stuck in your teeth. Like, I mean, how do you live after that? Like, I would not let a motherfucker gonna stop being my friend after shit like that.
Yeah, you would live it down.
Yeah, I would not let them. I'll buy them a shirt for their birthday with like a half of a face on it.
Oh yeah, my God. Shit, yeah.
That wouldn't happen. So in other Orlando news,
motherfucking alligators dragging motherfuckers. Let me tell you something, white people. Stop being so adventurous and shit. If you see a sign that says keep out, fucking keep out. Shit.
If you older than 3.
Yeah. Yeah, the kid, I ain't faulting the kid. He went where his parent went to. Adults, if you see a fucking sign, it don't need to say, beware the alligators. If some shit say keep out of dangerous waters or whatever the fuck, don't go over there. Because let me tell you something. Again, my sense of self-preservation, I'm not gonna go anywhere where I could potentially die or some bad shit could happen. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even gonna walk anywhere where I know there's lots of spiders and spider webs, because I think spiders have ass silk that comes out in the shape of the webs, and I don't like walking in that shit because it's disgusting. I'm not finna, if I see a sign that says don't come in, I ain't fucking coming in. Know what I'm talking about? I'm staying my ass out.
So, if you have been living under a rock,
which you would have had to have been,
but conveniently have access to listening to this podcast, then a 2-year-old at Disney World at one of the resorts was outside with a parent, and an alligator dragged the 2-year-old off.
And they didn't find him till a couple of days later. The body.
Found a couple of days later. They found the body intact.
Yeah. This is so terrible. I don't know if I should even do this, because it's kind of like, maybe I won't. Never
do
mind.
It. Too late now. Go.
I just figured that alligator like bit the kid and took him down and was like, oh, this tastes terrible. It just didn't eat him and he just drowned. I feel like, because he was intact. You know, they usually bite you and roll you and then they eat you, or whatever animal they pull down. I mean, they don't do this with people a lot, but he didn't even eat him. Like, he bit him and drug him, but I just figured the kid kind of didn't taste good.
And babies are tender meat. Right? Like, that's like tender meat. Like, babies are like the filet mignon of people.
Exactly. So, what was it about this particular baby? I feel like something kind of threw the gator off, where he was like, oh no, this is...
Maybe he had a bad diaper.
Maybe he was on a diet, and maybe he thought better about it. Like, oh shit, I can't eat this. Yeah, I can't eat this.
Talking about Disney alligators.
Well, yeah.
The ones that have personalities and stories. And
so maybe he was like, oh shit, this is going to go directly to my... Well, they don't have thighs. To my...
No, I don't think a real alligator, they bite arms off of people. Just for the hell of it.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like he bit him, rolled him, and then decided not to do anything more than that, because he was intact. Like, maybe he tasted bad, is all I'm saying. He may not have tasted good. Maybe he was,
He had a dirty diaper.
Maybe so. And the alligator was just all like...
in the diaper. And,
we are such assholes. Anyhow...
Yeah, we went in a
whole other direction with that. But I really was thinking that when I heard he was intact, I was like, he must have tasted terrible, because he's a gator. He didn't eat him.
So what's happened is there just have been a lot of comparing this situation to Harambe. And I understand, but I'm going to tell y'all something, America, about those kinds of comparisons. Because it came down to white and black.
Yep.
When you talk about a white family that was inattentive to their child and the child got snatched up by an animal, versus an African American family that was inattentive and their child got snatched up by an animal, which is where the similarities end. You have one family, the black family, in which the family was looked into.
The dad who wasn't even fucking present.
Dad wasn't there. They looked into his criminal history to assess the level of parenting skills that this family must have to have a child that would be in this type of situation. Opposed to the white family where they trying to find Disney at fault.
Yeah.
For not having signs up that said, hey, gators.
Specifically gators. Like I said, if you see a sign that say keep out dangerous waters, that should be enough. You in fucking Florida. What else would it be about besides goddamn gators? It's Florida. They have gators everywhere. There's pictures of gators like showing up at people's house, looking like they ringing the doorbell and shit. Like, what you thought it was? It's Florida.
And the differences in those situations are that the white baby died, the black child lived through an animal death, and I just have to say that there is never going to be an instance where we will ever be able, as black people, to convince white people that an injustice happened to us through a similar situation.
Oh, yeah,
there are always going to be enough
different
differences to invalidate it being race. And it's always going to be why you're trying to play the race card. It's always going to be race has nothing to do with this. It's always going to be people who can't understand the black experience, which goes into my dialogue of you just have to understand what your experience is and help people understand as best they can what a black person goes through. You can't use these particular situations to try and do that. You just can't. Ain't no situation gonna be similar enough. You have to have a situation where two people of the same age, one white, one black, of similar backgrounds with similar contexts, and the exact same thing happen to them, and a response be different. But that don't even take into consideration different state laws.
Yeah.
So it would have to be in the exact same city, in the exact same state, under the same laws, and then that don't even take into consideration the individuals that deal with it. So you have to have the exact same police that deal with you, the exact same lawyers, and the same judge in that situation, and go to the same jail.
Yeah, because we already didn't discover how judges have a whole lot of privilege when it comes to judicial
exactly. Like,
so
for those two people, everything will have to be exactly the same to know if the whole system has failed one of those people or if it's subjective. You know what I'm saying? And if those two people deal with all the people who are objective and deal with shit the same, it's gonna look like ain't no difference in the system.
Yeah.
So we never gonna get that.
Yeah.
We never gonna get that.
For everybody that was wondering why Harambe died and the gator didn't, again, different situations. The zoo is a much more contained environment in which they have shit on standby in case some of them animals get the fuck out of hand. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a procedure that they have in place because of just the very environment that it is. This was not I mean, they had to run and go get somebody. And a gator and a gorilla is completely different. Like I said, gators usually they drag you in the water, they do that death roll shit and pull you down. I mean, that's it. Like, if you wait too long, you miss your chance, which is why it took them a couple of days to even find the child. Not the same situation. That's why the gator didn't die. And Harambe did. Again, I'm sad about Harambe's death too, but y'all sit the fuck down. Now, come on now. This is not the same thing. And again, the situations were just such where it wouldn't have been... Somebody would have had to be where they were at that time with a gun just in case some shit pop off to kill that gator. Because again, the way they kill it's just completely different.
And that person would have had to been there like that for 45 years that this hasn't happened at this particular place. Up to the first time it happened in 45 years.
Yep.
You know, so I mean, it's a lot of these things are not realistic. Just like after a school shooting happened, for every single school in America to have a security guard at it, the statistical probability of it happening at your school is so low that if it has happened at your school, then that's unfortunate for you.
Yeah, very much
but
so.
It's just not going to happen all day, every day for that situation. You know, and unfortunately because of that, we're not going to be prepared for a lot of these situations. We're not going to be prepared for shootings, whether they're at clubs or at school. We're not going to be prepared for animals to snatch heads up out the damn water.
You never know when somebody... First of all, it's like... Mental stability is not even... You know what I'm saying? Like, we can't even predict that, like, in other situations. You cannot be prepared for every single situation in which somebody's going to become disgruntled or upset or whatever... for whatever their reasoning is, and come into again, North Carolina, the people in church. How would they have been able to prepare for that or know that was going? You know what I'm saying? Like, that isn't something in which you can be prepared for in all instances because we are unpredictable creatures. Just in general, human beings are unpredictable as fuck. You think you know somebody 1 minute and the next minute you be like, I never thought Billy would do that. Yeah. He was such a nice guy. He just snapped.
I mean, if y'all didn't know anything about psychotic disorders, for psychotic disorders, people that have the pre-genetic disposition to have psychotic disorders, which means if it's in their family or if they have genetic setup for it, environmental circumstances are usually what triggers their psychotic breaks.
And you cannot
don't know what it is,
when that's gonna happen. Or if it is, people can live their entire life with this genetically in them and it never get triggered and they die and never, you know what I'm saying, succumb to it. So there is not a way to predict that. It's unpredictable. If you have some shit that run in your family and y'all talk about how crazy Uncle Bill is, I better watch that shit.
But he was all right last year?
Exactly. But you better watch talking about him because you don't know if you got that gene or not. Right circumstances, you might be Bill in a couple of months. You don't know. Like, it's unpredictable.
You gonna walk in the living room with a tinfoil hat on.
Like, damn it, I thought you
Exactly. It's over now.
Yeah, it's not, mental health is not, it's not predictable. It's just not one of those things. I mean, there are warning signs sometimes, but for a lot of shit, you just don't know till it happens. Yeah. It's like, fuck.
at the end of the day, I think what we're trying to say is Florida's still crazy.
Fuck Florida. I still think we need. Do you see that Bugs Bunny cartoon where he like cut Florida completely off and it floated away?
I do.
I still vote we do that shit. Florida got a lot of fuck shit coming out of it, whether it be through the courts, just a lot of fuck shit in general. So I'm for us just cutting it off and letting it float away.
Have you seen a video of these two congressmen? One congressman did something. There's another congressman who was basically talking shit about his state of Texas from Florida. I wish I gotta let you see that video. He basically was talking shit about. He said, "I think you owe me an apology," and he said, "People in hell want ice water." Like I wish I had a reference to it. So go to YouTube and put Florida rips Texas congressman. You should find that shit there. There's a black dude with glasses, but Florida crazy.
Yeah.
But
indeed,
the last thing we gonna do, because it's Father's Day.
It is indeed.
We're just going to talk about some of the influential TV fathers that we have come across in our, TV watching days. Because, I'm a lot closer with the TV dads than my dad. So
me too, shit.
So, but having worked with families, I see a dynamics between a lot of different dads, and it's just pushed me to look at a lot of these situations differently.
Okay.
So, like, what dads was when you think of like a TV dad, which one is the most?
Heathcliff Huxtable.
Heathcliff Huxtable.
Yeah, I mean him, Uncle Phil. Probably those two are my top two that are. Yeah.
Uncle Phil. Uncle Phil started off mean as hell in that show.
He did.
And then it's not. They just changed his character completely.
Yeah.
He just became a real soft.
I mean, he
friendlier.
was still harder when he needed to be. I think that's why I liked his character, because he was still an asshole sometimes. So he was still like really hard on them sometimes. But I like that dynamic though. Because here's some of the TV dads we gonna talk about. Some of my issue with them is that they was just too fucking good. You know what I'm saying? Like, parents fuck up. They do. And so like your dad's not gonna be that like perfect dad all the time. And so some of these dads were not relatable at all, because it's just like, he ain't never fuck up though. Not never though. I just can't buy it.
My favorite episode with Uncle Phil was when they took him to court. I don't know if you remember this, but they had a pool party that they weren't supposed to have because they was gone. And Uncle Phil took the boys to court. And she had a judge presiding over the situation. They all told their story about how the pool party went. Yeah. And Carlton had on a duck. He called Howard the duck, like one of them floaters. And Uncle Phil came and he just popped the duck with his finger. It was hilarious. If you seen that episode, you know what I'm talking about. It was funny. See, and I like the creative punishments too. You know what I'm saying? That the same thing with Heathcliff. Like, I remember when what was the dark skinned sister, the one above Rudy? Not Son. What was her name? Vanessa went out drinking and came back drunk, and then they pretended to like all of them were gonna drink, and they played the alphabet game where they had to go around and say like was it a state capital that started with the next letter, and if you couldn't think of one, you had to drink. And they had Rudy playing too, and she was just like, "Oh my god!" Like, as a just to show her, like, you know what I'm saying. Like, I liked like creative shit like that. They also had court one time where what's the wife's name? Claire Huxtable, where Claire was the judge. Yeah, like that. I like stuff like that. Yeah, the Huxtables have always been like a dynamic of how I would like my family to be. Yeah, at some point. Yeah, I would like to be Heathcliff Huxtable, and I would like my wife to be a Claire Huxtable type situation.
I love Claire. My favorite episode with her was when she told Sandra's husband, what the fuck is his name? Ivan. It was Ivan. Irwin. Something to that effect. Yeah, y'all know who we're talking like about. But she offered to get coffee for him and Dr. Huxtable. And he was so surprised. He was like, "Oh, you're gonna serve Dr. Huxtable, and she was like, no, I'm not gonna serve him. I'm gonna bring him a cup of coffee. Like, he brought me a cup of coffee this morning. And if you don't get these sexes out there, you never gonna have anybody bring you anything anywhere, anytime. That was my favorite. Like, I loved Claire. Claire was awesome.
She spent the whole show roasting that dude.
Yeah, cause he was so set. Like, his
and the little black kid too. What his name was? The Rudy little friend.
Rudy little friend, Bud.
Yeah, Bud. Yeah, she was roasting. She roasted him in kid fashion though.
She did. She did it on a level that was appropriate for him. But yeah, so what are the TV we talk? What other TV?
Carl Winslow.
Carl
Winslow was so angry though.
He was angry all the time. I don't really have any like specific episode memories of him. More of like
how serious. Like, it's one episode that I might have referenced before, but when their cousin came into town and got Steve and Eddie into trouble,
yeah,
you know, he went hard on that dude,
yeah,
you know, and so it's like it's been moments where he been a father figure.
Yeah, I mean, he was very good at that. He was just a very much more tough dad, like all the time. I think, I keep wanting to call him Cliff Huxtable. And Uncle Phil, I feel like had more softer moments than Carl Winslow had. Like, he was just tough all the time.
He was always like, the dynamic in that show was between him and Steve Urkel.
I know, which was not even one of his kids. Yeah,
like, I can't even really remember like many episodes where he like sat down and talked to his kids about stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
he just always had interactions with Steve.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah.
Shit, you ain't never get to see Steve's own parents. You just saw him over there with them all the time.
And you know, Steve Urkel was never even meant to be in the show.
I know.
What would that show have been without Steve Urkel?
Shit,
who was gonna be the comedy?
It wouldn't have lasted as long as it had. I think he was a guest star, and like people responded so well, it kept him. But it wouldn't have. I don't think it would have went for as many seasons as it went had his character not been kept and continued. Because he was the comic relief for the show. None of the rest of them were particularly funny.
Yeah.
None of the moments of the show that didn't include him were particularly funny.
The grandmama was funny.
Oh yeah,
but you can't really get that much comedy out of a granny.
Yeah, but she was funny. I liked her.
We got Danny Tanner. Full House.
That's one of them ones that was unrealistic or not relatable to me. He was just he was too sensitive, like, and he never got upset. Like, even when they did something wrong, it's like he'd sit him down on the bed and say, you know, I'm very disappointed. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was never, that's not realistic. Like, parents get pissed at you, especially when you do real stupid shit to put yourself in some kind of danger. It ain't gonna be, let me tell you something, my mama, it was never gonna be like, I'm so upset with you. It's like, what? Well, you know what I'm saying? She gonna come at you. Like, it ain't gonna be no sit down on the bed, let me talk to you about how disappointed I am in you kind of shit. Like, I just don't. Yeah, he wasn't relatable to me because he was too nice. Like, it was too much.
The thing about shows like that was they only showed me what a white family looked like.
And they don't even really look like that. I think it wasn't even a good depiction of a white family. Like, I think that's the depiction white people would like for you to have what their families look like.
I mean, I think that's what some white families look like when people are over. That show is, and we were people that was over. Yeah. Every time, like, I bet when the camera start rolling, if the show was real, Danny Tanner have a whole bar downstairs.
Well, the guy who played him had a potty mouth that was like a potty mouth ass comedian. Yeah. And I never knew. He was in,
the first time he said something outside of that was in Half Baked.
Oh yeah.
Because Dave Chappelle got up and the Alcoholic Anonymous group and was like, I'm addicted to weed. And Danny Tanner got up and said, Bob Saget got up and said, weed is not a drug. I smoke dick for coke. I suck dick for coke. Like, I was like, who's that? That ain't Danny Tanner. Why would he do this?
But
why would he do this to me?
Even the other cast said, like, when the cameras stopped, he was nothing. Like, he's not Danny Tanner at all in any shape, form, and fashion. Like, he he had to like curb it when he was around like the younger cast member, but he had a potty mouth. Like even he was like, as soon as the camera was cut off, that was not who he was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't relate to Danny Tanner. It was too perfect. It was just too perfect.
We got Martin Crane.
I like Martin from Frasier. He was so different from his sons because they were not like, it didn't even seem like he was their dad. They were so different, but I liked him. He was like a regular dad, like who was sometimes disappointed in his sons, sometimes proud of them. He fished. He was a retired cop. Like he was just a regular dad. I like Martin Crane, and he was still able. What was good about him, I liked, was that Frasier and Niles had all these degrees and were constantly speaking. Because when I was a kid, my mom used to watch that shit, and I had no idea what was going on because you couldn't understand them. I understand it now, but I didn't then. But he was still able to go toe to toe with them, even though he wasn't like as highly educated as they were and just lived a different kind of life than they did. He was always able to put them in their place, and I love that about him.
He used the common man's response to education.
He did.
Like, you can be educated as hell, but it's some shit you can say that'll mess up a person that got some sense.
And he was able to do that. Like I liked him. I liked that about him. He was a dad I liked, and he was funny, and I liked his dog. His dog was cute.
Being a counselor or therapist, the show Frasier really crafted people's version of what they think a therapist do. Yes.
Oh God, it was so cliche.
Cliche. It's just so stereotypical.
Cliche.
Down to the sitting in the chair type situation. It's psychoanalytical
Every
stuff.
time I tell somebody I'm a therapist, they ask me if I have a couch in my office, and I always say, yeah, but don't nobody lay on that shit. If somebody come in and try to lay down, I'm not I'm not Freud. You're not laying on the couch. Sit down. Like, yeah, like everybody always has the stereotype that they think of what therapists do. Like, so people come lay on your couch. No,
I think if I ever go to private practice, I'm gonna do that.
You'll have them lay on the couch?
Just because I got narcolepsy. And sometimes I be getting sleepy.
Hey, look, I close my door sometimes and lock that shit if I ain't got nobody coming in. If I'm particularly sleepy.
No, I'm saying sometimes I get sleepy in their face.
Oh yeah.
Like I need them to be looking somewhere else while I'm behind them.
Sleep.
Being able not sleep now. But I be struggling sometimes. I yawn like 3 times. But like I do a little weird mouth closed yawn. So I don't know how my face look when I do that. But it can't look regular. I know I ain't doing it right. But nobody ain't ever saying nothing about
a mouth closed yawn.
Yeah, so I'll have to have me a couch. Just for my own personal reasons.
And I'm not sitting behind my couch. They're sitting in front of me on the couch. So it's not a Freud setup where the couch is behind them and they lay down and you can't even see.
Like
the
a chase where ain't no size on it.
You just lay back. Mine is a raggedy ass, old ass leather couch that came with the office when I moved in there. Because it's a non-profit. We ain't got no money.
We got Homer. From The Simpsons.
I think Homer, Peter Griffin have to be lumped into kind of the same category. I will say I found more redeemable qualities in Homer than Peter. Like there are moments where Homer will try to like come through for his kids or like, or feel bad about, being inadequate. Peter is he has so many different personality disorders that
you ain't lying.
He just can't. Like he can't give them what they need. He's incapable of it. He just can't. And so out of those two, I found Homer to be a little more redeemable than Peter. I just run away. Like if I was a Griffin, I'd just fuck like
you
Meg.
Wouldn't have to.
Like
you wouldn't
Meg,
have to.
I had to go.
You wouldn't have to. Child Protective Services would have took both of their kids long ago.
You are right.
Both of their kids would have been
took.
Well,
there was an episode of The Simpsons. Actually, both of the shows where the kids have been taken before for them being neglectful.
I have to go look for them episodes.
I
probably have seen it with Family Guy. The Family Guy episodes just be so muddled. I don't know. I can't put together. They had to go
stay. Wait. No, on the Simpsons episode, they had to go stay with Ned and his wife. It was before his wife died. And I forgot what Homer did, but Homer and Marge both lost the kids and had to go through like a DHR kind of situation to get them back. But they were living with the Flanders, and Maggie, because she hadn't been a Simpson for as long, like took to the Flanders and she liked them and didn't want to go back. So that was a whole thing. I can't remember what happened. I think it was when Peter burned Lois with some grease accidentally.
Oh, I remember that.
And then
Yeah.
she couldn't take care of them and they didn't trust him to take care of them. I forgot where they went to, but he lost custody of them too. So yeah, they both did actually lose custody even in the cartoon version. So in real life they showed when they had them children.
The second thing, apart from their kids being removed from them, is that I think both of them are mentally retarded, which for political correctness, it is now called intellectually disabled. But for the context of understanding what I'm talking about, for people who didn't know that, I use both of those terms.
Yeah, they absolutely are.
Yeah.
Homer's is probably alcohol induced after years of ingesting all them beers down in Moe's. Alcohol look, y'all, that has a permanent impact on your brain. And for as long, he been drinking, like even when they show young Homer, he was still drinking. Like
not to mention exposure to radiation. That he's so close to that a piece of radiated material can get caught on his back. Yeah. When he going home.
Yeah. Oh, and the same shit. I just realized they both got substance abuse problem. Cause both of them alcoholics and shit. Cause Peter drink too. Down at the Clam. Brewery. At Pawtucket Brewery, and they drink at the Clam. Yeah. They're both alcoholics. Forgot they had that in common too.
You know what? I gotta throw one in here that I wasn't even thinking about. I gotta throw Rick in there from Rick and Morty.
Oh God, Rick is a horrible father. Another personality disorder. Yeah.
Narcissistic personality disorder.
Terrible. Yes. Highly intelligent, but narcissistic as shit.
I don't know. He do for his family.
But it's like, even when he done, when has he done for them and it didn't benefit him in some kind of way? Right? Because he likes having Morty with him for these adventures. So whatever he has to do to maintain the balance for that to take place, I think it's still selfish in a way because it's him getting what he wants. But you remember
the episode when he had to go find the evil Rick?
Yeah.
And he started showing him pictures of Morty when he was little. He started crying. Like, he feel for his family, you know what I'm saying?
But narcissism can be on a scale. So he doesn't have to be where he don't really give a fuck at all. I think he cares to them to an extent. But I feel like he's still always going to be number one. I don't know. Again, Rick has some very few redeemable.
Yeah, I wouldn't want a Rick in my life, but if I did, I would rather him be a family member.
Oh God, yeah. Instead of being on the opposite side of that shit, like that Purge episode.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no. Mm-mm.
Who else? Al Bundy
goes right back in there with Peter. He's like the real life version of Peter and Homer. Yeah, and his kids were they were stupid. Yeah,
he was. I think he was just depressed.
Yes, extremely
depressed. Hated his job.
Hated his wife. Hated his kids.
Hated his neighbors.
Yep. Oh God. Well, he could tolerate Ted. He hated Marcy though.
Yeah.
He hated Marcy. I wouldn't have wanted him to be my dad. Like I never watched the Married with Children and was like, oh man, look at that. Like, no, I would never have wanted to be Al Bundy's child.
They weren't like trailer park redneck-ish.
Only because they didn't live in a trailer park. You could take that show and very easily transport it to like a trailer and it would still work.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Kelly could just be like walking around to different people's trailers. And what's the son's name? Damn, what's this? Bud,
yeah.
Bud, he could be doing exactly what he was doing in their house. It would work.
I think their family was too good for the trailer park, but not good enough for the suburbs. I think that was the case.
You couldn't see Peg walking around in a trailer. In a trailer park.
I think to me they the white family that live in the black neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Like
I can see that, yeah.
That's what I think. Like I think they cool with all the black people.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know?
I can see that. Yeah. Maybe so.
Eric Camden, Seventh Heaven.
He also, I felt like that whole Too Good, but he was a minister. So my whole thing with they whole family was they weren't Mormon. I didn't get why they had so many damn children.
They just had a general Christian,
just a regular Christian church. I think so. He wasn't Mormon. I don't think he was Mormon, but they had like kids like they were Mormon. Like they didn't believe in birth control.
Mormon don't exclusively have access to a lot of kids. I mean,
I know, but like that's just where you see it usually. Because they had a ton. How many kids did they have? They had
like 10.
Like 10. Because they had, and then they still like even after the show was going, they had them twin boys. When you thought they were done with kids, they came back with the twins. She got pregnant again, so I don't know.
I know it was a TV show, but it just reinforced the idea that preachers got the worst kids.
Oh yeah,
ever.
Yeah, because the boy, they all had problems. Yeah. They all got into shit. So
and realistically, everybody got problems.
But I think there's like this. There's this expectation that's put on preachers' kids that they never live up to.
I've always had a problem with. I don't know. I've had preachers that I've had always tell their testimony of how they used to be a pimp. How they used to smoke crack in the back of the Cadillac.
Why it gotta be so personal? You know what I'm saying? I get it's their testimony, but yeah, I've heard some of those.
But it's like, how come I don't get to be a pimp? Why are you trying to stop me? How come I can't experience my own situations that would lead me organically to where you at?
Because they've learned now they want you to go ahead because they've been where you. I've been where you at, young brother. They trying to keep you from living that life because they know how it ends.
That's always been my problem with, like, especially with Kirk Cameron, because he the first person I realized this about, people who've had sex that preach about abstinence. Be like,
I hate them fucking Left Behind movies. And no shade to anybody that's listening that like them movies. Have you ever watched one of them movies?
No.
It is the most poorly acted. Like, it's horrible. It is only a really super religious like Christian could find enjoyment in that, because they're the worst movies I've ever seen in life, and they don't make any sense.
Maybe the books are good.
I ain't never read the books because they ain't never piqued
my
interest.
Will.
The only reason I watched one of the movies is because I was up late one night and the shit was on and I was curious about it, and I immediately regretted that curiosity. Immediately. It was shit.
For me, the movie would have to be on after something that I wanted to watch. The remote would have to be too far away for me to reach it, and I would rather watch whatever is on than move. And then I have to stay woke. You don't have to be moderately entertained.
I did fall asleep. I don't know how it ended. I don't even know. It's a million of them, so I don't even know which one of them it was that I watched. But like, he was working for, because the Antichrist is supposed to like be like this political figure, I think. And he was like, he had figured out who the Antichrist was, and I think he was working for his campaign. Some shit. It was just the worst. It was the worst. It was awful.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, we could go down a list of dads for a long time.
We could indeed.
Trying to figure out, talking about this situation, but
neither of our dads fit into any of those categories, I don't think.
Mine don't.
Well, hey, that's not true. He might have been like, no, like, I'm not gonna do that. He didn't fit it.
if there's a show in which the dad was locked up in jail for like 14 years out of that life, maybe not quite 14, but for most of the individual childhood,
he might have been on like one of the side stories on The Wire.
See, that's where I gotta go. I gotta go to The Wire, or I gotta go to Oz. That's where I gotta go to find stories about my, that relate to my pops.
Hopefully not Oz. Let's stick with The Wire. Oz was horrible.
Well, jail ain't a playground.
I know. Shit. I'd much rather think of him in The Wire than in Oz. Oz was horrible. I mean, it was good, but it was horrible. I don't know how you could watch Oz and ever fucking want to go to prison or not do everything you possibly can to stay the fuck out of prison. Because Oz, Whew.
I done talked to people that been in prison. They be like, it ain't bad.
That's subjective.
I know, be like, you mean for people that have been to jail.
Exactly. Oh, okay. I'm going to save that for the date episode. I don't have a lot of date stories, but I have online dating profiles, and I've had some interesting conversations with people on, like, there's a lot of men in prison, like, on these dating sites. I'm gonna leave that for that episode because that kind of goes into that. But yeah, there's a whole lot of men in prison, which I don't get. They got cell phones and pictures and shit. I don't know. I don't understand. But yeah.
Well, I mean, that's all I got. You got anything else on your mind?
Okay. Happy Father's Day to the fathers, mothers. You had Mother's Day, so don't do that. Don't be that person that celebrates Father's Day and looking for a Father's Day card because you picked a man that was shit and wasn't around. You had Mother's Day. So, you know.
And if that's how you feel, if that's how your kids feel, if your kids feel like they need to celebrate you somehow because of that, don't use this opportunity to invalidate people that have a good relationship with their fathers and have good fathers. Because every time you say, I'm a mama and a father, you're invalidating other people's experiences with their fathers. Every time you post on Facebook, this goes out to the real fathers, you know, you are bringing attention to a group of people that don't need to be talked about today. You know, so leave it up for the regular fathers. The good fathers, the fathers that are there, the fathers that try, the fathers that want to, but for some reason can't be.
Because that's what the fuck the day was made. You know that this is a made up ass holiday. That is what it was created for. Was for those guys. So celebrate those guys, and if you don't have one of those guys around, then it's Sunday. Then it's just Sunday.
Exactly.
Shit.
It's just Sunday.
But that's all I had. Just wanted to mention that.
All right. Well, till we come to the next conversation.
We out.
Holla.